June 5, 1944. Southwick House, Hampshire, England. A violent Atlantic storm lashes against the windows as the clock nears midnight. In a dim operations room, lit only by scattered lamps, General Dwight D. Eisenhower stands motionless over a large wooden map table. His uniform is damp, his eyes red from 3 sleepless nights, and in his hands rests a single blank page, one he desperately hopes he will never need to write on. For months, the world had waited for this moment. The Allies were preparing to launch Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in military history. In just a few hours, 160,000 soldiers, 5,000 ships, and 11,000 aircraft were supposed to cross the English Channel toward Nazi-occupied France. Victory would open the gateway to Europe. Failure could doom the entire war. But then, a chilling weather report arrives, one that threatens to collapse everything. Winds increasing, swells rising, visibility failing, a forecast so grim that the entire invasion hangs by a thread. And as the storm intensifies outside, Eisenhower slowly sits, pulls the blank page toward him, and begins writing a message meant only for the darkest outcome imaginable. D-Day had already been delayed once. The Allies had gambled everything on a narrow 48-hour window of acceptable tides, moonlight, and wind conditions. The fate of Europe, after 5 brutal years of global war, rested on timing measured in hours. And now the weather was collapsing faster than any commander expected. Inside Southwick House, tension rippled through every corridor. Montgomery pushed aggressively for action, convinced that hesitation would only worsen morale. Air Chief Marshal Lee Mallory, however, warned that the airborne divisions could face catastrophic losses, up to 70% casualties if they flew through these storm conditions. The naval commanders feared that waves could flip landing craft, scattering troops before they reached the beaches. And from Washington to London, political pressure tightened around Eisenhower's neck. The world expected movement, the alliance demanded unity. But Eisenhower knew a devastating truth. One wrong decision could destroy the entire invasion before a single soldier even touched French sand. As wind roared across the Channel, he faced an impossible question: go and risk disaster, or delay and risk losing the war? This is the untold story of the night D-Day almost collapsed, and the message Eisenhower wrote in case it did. The road to this moment had begun nearly a year earlier. In 1943, at the Quebec Conference, Allied leaders formally agreed to launch a massive cross-channel invasion to liberate Western Europe. That responsibility fell upon one man, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, appointed Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. For months, he orchestrated a military machine unlike any ever assembled. Massive supply depots were constructed across southern England. Entire divisions rehearsed beach landings along the British coast. Thousands of ships were assigned to ferry men and equipment, and the skies filled with aircraft preparing for the airborne assault. And behind the scenes, a vast deception effort, Operation Bodyguard, tricked Hitler into believing the invasion would land at Calais, not Normandy. But beneath the surface of Allied preparations, disagreements simmered. Montgomery and Eisenhower clashed repeatedly. Montgomery demanded more landing beaches and broader fronts. Eisenhower wanted flexibility. Their relationship, already strained by personality differences, would become one of the defining tensions of the campaign. Meanwhile, the airborne commander, Lee Mallory, became deeply pessimistic about the airborne operation. He warned Eisenhower repeatedly that dropping paratroopers in stormy conditions at night behind enemy lines could cause unparalleled casualties. His concerns were not theoretical. Training jumps had already resulted in deadly crashes. Lee-Mallory even suggested canceling the airborne assault altogether. At sea, Admiral Ramsey carried his own fears. Navigating thousands of vessels across a stormy channel required near-perfect conditions. A single miscalculation could scatter the invasion force, stranding troops or capsizing landing craft before they reached the shore. And all the while, Eisenhower balanced intense political pressure. Churchill, eager for action, warned against repeated delays. Roosevelt, thousands of miles across the Atlantic, needed results to maintain popular support. And from the east, the Soviet Union demanded the long-promised Second Front. If the Allies hesitated too long, Stalin's trust in the Western Alliance could fracture. By early June, the weather became the most unpredictable enemy of all. Meteorologist Group Captain James Stagg, head of the forecasting team, delivered conflicting predictions. The days leading up to June 5th had been stormy, but a temporary break seemed possible. Then another storm pattern formed in the Atlantic, one that could devastate the invasion. Inside Southwick House on the evening of June 4th, Eisenhower gathered his senior commanders. They debated fiercely. Montgomery advocated going forward despite the risks, believing hesitation would worsen everything. Lee-Mallory insisted that the airborne operation was nearly suicidal in these conditions. Ramsey warned that naval landings could become unmanageable if waves rose too high. Eisenhower listened. He weighed every argument. The room became suffocating with tension. Finally, after hours of debate, Eisenhower made a reluctant decision. He delayed D-Day by 24 hours. Soldiers who were already loaded on ships were ordered to wait. Troops in airborne transports were pulled back to their bases, and all across southern England, the invasion machinery froze. But delaying Overlord was not a simple choice. The tides and moon phases required for the assault only occurred within a narrow window. Another delay might push the operation back weeks or even months, and Hitler might use that time to reinforce Normandy or uncover Allied deception. So Eisenhower went to sleep for only a few hours, knowing the next morning would determine everything. Now, in the early hours of June 5, Stagg returned with another forecast, one even worse. A violent Atlantic depression was forming faster than expected. Its winds could reach gale force, waves could reach deadly heights, clouds would block vital air support. The window for success was evaporating. Eisenhower felt the pressure building. Unlike his commanders who focused narrowly on air, sea, or land, he alone carried the full weight of the war on his shoulders. If he ordered the invasion forward and it failed, history would blame him. If he cancelled it and the war dragged on, history would still blame him. He walked outside into the storm, rain battering his face, the cold wind cutting through his coat. For a moment, he stood completely alone, the supreme commander of millions, yet utterly isolated. Inside, the debates raged. Outside, Eisenhower wrestled with the burden of choice. The foreshadowing was clear. The greatest invasion in history was seconds away from collapse, and soon he would write the most painful message of his life, a message meant for the world if D-Day failed. 1:18 a.m., June 5th, 1944. Southwick House falls silent as the doors to the operations room swing open. Meteorologist James Stagg, soaked in rain, clutches a stack of charts against his chest. His face says everything before he speaks. Eisenhower steps toward him, expression tight. "Stagg, what is it now?" Stagg places the charts onto the table. The commanders gather around.
With a trembling finger, he points to a swirling pattern of deepening pressure over the Atlantic. "Gentlemen, the storm is worsening." A hush falls over the room. He explains that the temporary break they hoped for may close faster than expected. Winds could intensify, visibility could collapse, the channel could become too violent for landing craft to survive. The commanders erupt in conflicting reactions. Montgomery, firm, aggressive, unshakable. "We go, whether or not. Every hour we wait makes the Germans stronger." Lee Mallory, pale, anxious, voice tight. "My airborne divisions will be slaughtered. In these winds, they'll miss their drop zones by miles. Many won't make it out of the aircraft." Admiral Ramsey, measured but deeply concerned. "A rough sea means capsized craft, scattered waves, and total chaos off the beaches. We could lose a significant percentage of the first assault before they even land." Eisenhower listens, jaw clenched. He knows each man is right within his own domain, but he also knows something no one else fully grasps. The entire invasion must function as one. If one part breaks, everything collapses.
As the debate intensifies, Eisenhower steps away from the table and moves toward the window. Rain batters the glass. Wind howls like artillery fire. Then, Stagg delivers the blow. "General, if this front closes, the next viable window won't be for 2 weeks." Inside Eisenhower's mind, the consequences multiply. Troops confined on ships for 14 more days, morale plummeting, German reconnaissance noticing the massive buildup, Hitler reinforcing Normandy, Stalin losing patience. A 2-week delay could undo everything. The room falls quiet as Eisenhower turns around slowly. All eyes fall on him. The decision is his alone. And then, he says nothing, just walks out of the room. The hall outside is cold and dim. Eisenhower stops, places both hands on the railing, and takes a long breath. This is the moment the invasion hangs suspended between destiny and disaster, and the storm outside only grows stronger. Eisenhower returns to the operations room. The commanders rise. Their expressions show exhaustion, fear, and determination all at once. This is the last meeting before the final decision. The storm outside booms like distant artillery. Stagg provides the latest update. A brief break, just long enough, might appear during the early morning of June 6th, but he cannot guarantee it. Montgomery seizes the moment. "General, this is our chance. The troops are ready. Confidence will vanish if we wait." Leigh Mallory counters sharply. "It is reckless. The airborne will be torn apart. I must advise, do not go." Admiral Ramsey shakes his head. "If we delay again, we risk losing concealment. The German Navy could detect us." The room becomes a battlefield of voices, each representing thousands of lives. Eisenhower rises slowly from his chair. His voice is calm but firm. "Gentlemen, it appears that we have come down to one simple question." The room stills. Do we go or do we not go? None speak. Montgomery leans forward. "I would say go." Leigh Mallory, "I must still recommend delay." The air thickens with tension. Eisenhower turns to Stagg. "What is your personal judgment?" Stagg hesitates, then quietly says, "Sir, I believe the weather will improve. Briefly, but enough." Eisenhower looks around the room. He sees fear. He sees conviction. He sees the weight of millions of soldiers and the hopes of the free world. Then he decides. Eisenhower's voice hardens. "Okay, we will go." 3 words, History pivots. Montgomery smiles in approval. Ramsey nods with relief. Lee Mallory's face drains as he imagines the airborne losses, but Eisenhower's expression remains unchanged. His shoulders slump. He knows the hardest part is still ahead. The loneliest walk. The commanders disperse to begin the machinery of war. Eisenhower is left alone in the quiet room. It is 03:05 a.m. The invasion will launch at dawn. He sits, pulls a blank piece of paper toward him, and begins to write. His handwriting is uneven, words scratched out, letters misshapen. He writes, "Our landings in the Cherbourg-Havre area have failed to gain a satisfactory foothold." He pauses, swallowing hard. "And I have withdrawn the troops." Outside, the storm pounds relentlessly. Eisenhower continues writing. "My decision to attack at this time was based on the best information available." His hand shakes. The troops, the air, and the Navy did all that bravery and devotion to duty could do. A long silence. Then the final sentence. "If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone." He signs it. He folds it. He slips it into his wallet. He hopes, prays that no one will ever read it. As he stands up, exhausted, he notices something. He misdated the note, July 5th instead of June 5th. A small mistake, but a powerful symbol of the crushing stress he carried. Eisenhower places the note away. The greatest invasion in history is underway, and now there is no turning back. The first landing craft hit Utah Beach, bucking violently in the leftover storm swell. Waves crashed over their bows, soaking the soldiers inside. Despite the conditions, they pushed forward. At Omaha Beach, the situation was far more brutal. Heavy seas scattered the landing craft. Many units were dropped far off course. Tanks sank before reaching shore. Machine gun fire tore through the early waves of infantry. For a moment, it seemed as though Eisenhower's worst fears were coming true. Across Normandy, chaos reigned. Paratroopers dropped miles from their intended zones. Gliders crashed into flooded fields. Entire units became fragmented. Communication broke down. The storm had not disappeared, it had merely shifted. But something extraordinary happened. Small groups of soldiers, scattered and disoriented, began improvising, forming new units on the fly. Leadership emerged from privates, sergeants, lieutenants, whoever survived the first few minutes. Despite carnage, confusion, and crushing German firepower, they kept moving forward. On the morning of June 6th, Eisenhower received the first fragmented reports. They were grim. Nearly every message included the same phrase: heavy resistance. Still, Eisenhower remained calm. He listened, nodded, and simply said, "Okay, keep going." Hours passed. Then the tide turned. At Omaha, American troops broke through the German line. At Utah, forces secured the beachhead. British and Canadian units drove inland. Airborne divisions, though scattered, captured bridges and crossroads critical to the advance. The invasion had not gone according to plan. It had gone according to determination. By nightfall, nearly 156,000 Allied troops were fighting on French soil. The foothold had been gained. Operation Overlord had succeeded, and the message Eisenhower wrote in the darkness of June 5
remained locked inside his wallet, unread. D-Day became the turning point of World War II. It opened the Western Front, it broke Hitler's grip on Europe, and it set in motion the chain of events that would lead to Germany's defeat less than a year later. Yet among all the strategic brilliance and military heroism, one moment stands apart. A single piece of paper, written alone, in the middle of a storm. A message to the world if everything failed. A message Eisenhower hoped no one would ever see. It read, "If any blame or fault attaches to the attempt, it is mine alone." Those words reveal something profound. They show a commander who understood the weight of command, who accepted personal responsibility not only for victory, but for catastrophe. They reveal a leader willing to face history's judgment alone. And they remind us why Eisenhower wasn't just the supreme commander of Allied forces, but one of the most respected leaders of the 20th century. Today, his note is preserved in the National Archives, a document that nearly became the most tragic message in modern military history. Instead, it stands as a testament to courage, humility, and the impossible decisions made on the eve of D-Day. The storm did not break Eisenhower, it revealed him. If you want to understand the human decisions behind history's greatest battles, subscribe for more untold command decisions, and tell us in the comments, what would you have done in Eisenhower's place that night?